What's up, boys? Good morning. How are you guys? Oh, man. It is Tuesday morning. We got another podcast right here. Yo, Watery Goat Legend. Howdy. What's going on? Let's see. Icon's here. Gary's here. Nice. Ollie's here. Holy cow. We got a lot of people here. Very nice. Chemical Gamers. Hey, yo. You guys, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you guys. This is Tea with Unjacked, number 5. And I'm actually really pumped for this one. I didn't really prepare for it, and let me explain why. I actually firmly believe that all the ones that I do not prepare for tend to be absolute bangers. When I go through and I go ahead and edit it, so like tonight I'll edit this, and I'll be like, holy cow. That one was like way better than the last 4 or 5 or this is only number 5, but I'm talking about the future. The future Unjacked, giving you the thoughts. Anyway, I have a lot of things I want to talk about today, and I hope you don't mind. For those that are just tuning in, let me just run down the list here real quick. You have a website? Yes, unjacked.com. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's not that awesome just yet, but it will be soon. It will be. I'm working on it. I'm only one man, though. I'm only one man. Anyway, I should say that I've come unprepared. I've come to let my mind run as wild as it feels like. There's a few subjects that I want to talk about, but we're not really going to do too many current events. I want to talk about like something with substance, you know? Something you can just kind of grip right into your teeth and really have a conversation about. You have 30 domains, if I remember correctly, 39 to be, 40. I did buy one recently. So 40. I was at 39, but yes, he remembers. I have a lot of domains. Matter of fact, we have a gang of them. So we want... Here, I'll show you some of the websites before we get started. Wait, Q-Talk just lost. Feels bad. Feels bad. T is awesome. Hello. What's up, T? This is one of my websites right here. Matter of fact, this is part of the shirt that I'm wearing today. Hold on, let me get this. Ted's Dabs. Little sponsorship right there. All right. We have the AM Podcast Network, where I used to run a full-blown AM Podcast Network right there. And that was a lot of fun. We have the Unjacked website, where my schedule lives. Unfortunately, I took a little hiatus here in July, though. I did not feel like doing it because... And let me explain why. Here, I'll explain why the schedule this month was a little bit effed up, unlike the other months. I didn't know exactly how we were going to kind of proceed with this. I didn't know if we were going to do this 3 times a week. And then I started thinking like, wow, I really don't want to force, like, I don't want to have to tell people I'm definitely doing this on Tuesday. And I wake up and I'm like, not really. Like, if I can't put out 100% solid podcast, then I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. I will fix this for August. August, the schedule will be on point. I will have this dialed in. July, can we just come together a little bit and just say that July was a test ground? We were just kind of testing some things out in July, and mission accomplished. What is it? Look at this. It's the end of July already, and who knows where we're going to get. That's all my sales on eBay. Nothing wrong with that. Let's get to what we need to get to. I'm just putting this up, no particular reason, just to have a little bit of background. Actually, you know what? Let's look at this. I kind of want to talk about, I don't necessarily want to talk about specifically the Joe Rogan podcast. This kind of just kind of lends us into something a little bit bigger as a topic, okay? This thing is going to be a juicy one to talk about. And if you guys have some input and you want to talk to me about what I'm talking about, then all you got to do is talk about it in chat, and then I will talk about it on stream. And then back and forth, man, we're just going to talk. It's going to be awesome. Whew, before we get into this, how is everybody? Is everybody doing well this morning? I hope so. I'm drinking Lemon Lift tea. It is caffeinated, black tea from Bigelow Farms. That's what we're drinking this morning. I just opened the brand new box. This is the first pack, and I'm super excited about it. It's on point. It's on point. All right. The other night, oh wait, hold on. One of my friends lived in 2 foster families. One of them almost chalked. Oh, Jesus. She get locked in the closet. My God, dude. Who's locking their kids in the closet these days? Even if they're not, like, biologically yours? Like, ow. Dude, listen, I got 5 kids. Not once in their entire lives have I even considered locking them in the closet. That sounds rough, man. Oh, well, what can you do? What can you do? Guys, switching topics to something a little bit more brighter than that. Let's talk about the podcasting future. I think it's kind of interesting. Actually, I think it's very interesting. Now, let me give you some background about me as far as podcasting goes. Back in the day, I started podcasting around 2012, and it was pretty cool. Like, it was kind of like getting warmed up a little bit, and people were like, oh my God, I got to start a podcast. And I was one of those people too. So I decided to have like 4 different podcasts with different friends of mine. But I was in South Korea at the time, and I didn't have access to like all of the gear and everything that you kind of need to run a podcast. So in 2012, I was able to start with one podcast called I've Always Been This Way. When I used to podcast, I would do it by myself. And then I had some guys that would come over to my apartment. And at the time, I had went and bought a 12-channel mixing board. I had all kinds of like XLR mics. I just had so much stuff. So we would sit down and we would do podcasts. And then we even had this one podcast called B-Holes Like Us. And let me explain. Okay, hold on. Let me explain why we even named it that. All right. We named it B-Holes Like Us. So has anybody experienced as like a kid? When I was a kid, the worst thing you could call somebody was like, you had a choice because you couldn't actually swear, right? So you had to say a-hole or b-hole. And I don't know what it was, but for me personally, I felt like when somebody called me a b-hole, it hurt more than being called an a-hole. I don't know why. So I had told the guys, it was 2 in particular, I was trying to groom them to be the host of this podcast. And so we ended up going with the name B-Holes Like Us. I convinced them to do it. They wanted something else, but it turned out to be great. We ended up doing like 51-hour podcasts. And these guys just talked about the stories, their sex lives, their crazy times in the bars, just like all this absurdness went into this podcast. So it was going very well. And I was like, wow, I build websites. I know how to do audio editing. I know how to do a lot of this stuff. And it turns out that I was right on the money at the time. I started the AM Podcast Network. Again, I had showed you guys that website. Where is it? I'll bring it back up. Since we're talking about podcasts, I'll leave it up on this. So the biggest thing was, okay, I could build the AM Podcast Network, but what do I want? I wanted half the website to be for the shows that I produce. And we got up to about 15 shows, which was pretty cool. It was a busy one because some shows were putting out 1 to 2 shows per week. And I would edit those and get them up, and then you could download them, you could all that stuff, right? And it went very well. The other half, I wanted to teach people how to actually podcast. And that's what this forum was. This forum was for like podcast reviews, actual like talking about how to do podcasts. There's so much goodness in this. And it turns out that I need more than just this, because it wasn't making money. Back then, it wasn't making a whole lot. And I had to figure out, well, what do I do? So I had 15 shows at that point, and I decided that I wasn't making any money, and I don't know exactly how to fix that because I wasn't large enough to have like ads and stuff like that, and I didn't have like a self-serve ad system. I didn't have that kind of money, so I had to kind of cut everybody loose. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep the network rolling. So I let all 15 shows go after the holidays, first quarter. And there was a couple shows I wanted to keep going and keep investing in because I thought they were going to be huge. For instance, I had this one show called The Chance and Nabe Show. And it was phenomenal. Like, these two had the chemistry. Like, they had something interesting to talk about. They did a show every single week for like an hour to two. And they were very funny. One was like a lawyer, and I don't know what the other guy did, but they had like that radio voice. They had that podcast voice. It was amazing, to say the least. Long story short, I shut down the podcast network in 14. We did it for about 2 years. I paid for it all out of my own pocket, and it just didn't gain the traction that I needed it to gain in order for me to at least have it self-sustain. So I ended up just putting it here. I took down the network, so there's no front page for it. There's only the forum. Anyway, this isn't about my network. I'm just trying to give you guys an understanding how hard it is to develop a product like a podcast and then into a podcast network. Most fail. Like, if they're not bought by huge amounts of investors, they just fail. Well, fast forward to, years ahead in the future, where I don't know if anybody here watches Joe Rogan's podcast, but if you don't, let me just give you a little synopsis of it. Joe Rogan was the host of Fear Factor. He's this giant arena selling out comedian. He has the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, where he has many of his top tier friends, Tom Segura, Tom Papa. There's so many, right? If you watch his podcast, you start seeing like the regulars, like Duncan Trussell, and many more. Well, he's probably the number one podcast in the world, hands down, in the world. And Spotify is interesting. Spotify bought Gimlet Media. They bought another one too. I can't remember. I don't think the other one, Anchor? Is it Anchor? Perhaps. And then they signed a deal with Joe Rogan for $100 million. One podcast that has a library of about 1,515 podcasts, I believe, total. Some are an hour and a half long. Some are 3 hours long. There's a few that are even 4 or 5 hours long. It's pretty incredible. Well, he signs the deal, takes the $100 million to be exclusive starting September 1st, 2020, right? So we have about a month. And he's only talked about it loosely. And I think it's bad. I think it's actually bad. I think it's great for him and his team. I think it's amazing for that, right? I think it's bad in a lot of ways. And you guys can give me feedback if you want. And let me explain why I think it's bad. I think it's bad because for podcasting as a whole, now we have a situation where people are going to get into podcasting, think that this is going to be the end result. Most people can't do this. I think it's absolutely wonderful for him. What do we go? Let me ask you this. From what point of view do you think it's great? Do you think it's great for Rogan? Do you think it's great for podcasts? Or do you think it forces other platforms to get great podcasts? The problem is those other platforms don't have the money for it. So they're not going to buy other great podcasts. And even if they do, it's only going to be like the top tier. So I think there's an estimate. Hold on. Let's look this up together. Okay. Let's see. Apple's not a good indicator, but they could get us halfway there probably. How many podcasts are there? Let's start here. Let me see. There are now 800,000 active podcasts with over 54 million podcast episodes currently available worldwide. And this is Forbes. This is end of 19. Okay, so not too bad. That's a lot of podcasts. We can say 1 million because maybe not all of them are being discovered or whatever for whatever reason. 1 million podcasts. How many do you think those will get bought up? Now, Gimlet Media bought up, I don't know, a handful. So I don't know exactly how many they bought, because I'm not like in tune with Gimlet. So for those that don't know, Gimlet Media they did the thing. They did it a little bit different. Instead of like buying a podcast like Joe Rogan's podcast, they had podcasts that told stories. So each episode was really more of somebody just telling one story for an hour or whatever the time is for the podcast. But anyway, I think it's awesome for podcasts in the sense that there's now going to be money thrown into the podcasting arena. But I also think it's a lot like YouTube. You have your top tier YouTubers. You got PewDiePie. You got plenty of companies out there doing huge things. There's some gorgeous channels. A lot of the main networks are on YouTube actually pushing like episodes and news and all kinds of stuff. Everybody wins from that. More media, more access, more everything for everybody. It's a wonderful thing. I think it's bad in the sense that it comes at it with exclusivity. And I'll give you a perfect example. I don't use Spotify. I only use SoundCloud. I will not go to Spotify just because of the Joe Rogan podcast. You know why? Because there's nothing else on that platform that I am even remotely interested in. There's nothing. I don't even want to put it on my phone and explore it. You know why? Because I already have too many apps. You know, and for those people that already have Hulu, Netflix, their normal apps, you got YouTube, you got SoundCloud, you got what else is out there? There's all kinds of, like, look at your phone and see how many apps you have. And then if you don't have Spotify, which I know a lot of people do have Spotify, but I do not. I am one of the many that actually do not. How many? Let me see. How many people use Spotify? How many people use Spotify? Let's see. 113 million subscribers. Or even 250 million monthly active users, but only 113 million subscribers. So there you go. That's still a far cry from like a real population base. And I'll give you an example. YouTube, 2 billion users. Facebook, 2 billion users. It's one of those things that you want to push behind, but the problem with media is once it becomes fractured, it becomes very difficult to follow. It also, does it take into account of the free users? Yes. 248 million monthly active users is everybody. And then out of that, only 113 million are actual subscribers. Now, Spotify makes their money on ads. And that's fine. Most of these digital companies make their money on ads. But the problem is, once Joe Rogan's podcast goes there, there'll be a segment of his audience that will never watch his podcast again because it won't be available on all platforms. So he kind of will lose in that, and he'll probably say, who cares? I got $100 million. What does it matter? And from that perspective, I agree with him. That is what he refers to as fuck you money. Now, do I think that's a good thing? No, because Joe Rogan is one of the very few people that can actually accomplish that. He's actually got the money to say, and that's not a good thing, because what it's going to do is going to try to get more podcasts in the upper tier to go exclusive. And then what happens is exactly what happened in like 2014, 13, somewhere around there. You had Stitcher, you had Anchor, you had what other ones? You had Libsyn, Podbean, you had Blueberry, Stitcher. There was a couple other ones. Anyway, there was a couple other these platforms that would just carry all these different podcasts. So some of your favorite podcasts will be on Stitcher, for example. Some would be on their own private network. Some would be on Libsyn. Some would be on YouTube. And then you had to curate all of these. And it hurts the podcast industry as a whole, I think. I think it's a win for a few people. I think for a lot of people, it's a loss. And I think it's a loss because of exclusivity. Yeah, well, you know what I mean. When you wall off your media, you're gonna essentially block off a lot of readers, a lot of listeners, a lot of watchers, a lot of viewers, however you want to label them. Think about it this way: the newspapers did the same thing. Wall Street Journal, all of them put up this paywall. The New York Times, and they made money off of a segment. but their reach is substantially lower than what it was before. Joe Rogan will not have the reach that he does today. He just won't, because most of his viewers on YouTube that do not have Spotify probably are not going to get Spotify just to watch his podcast. I know I won't. And unfortunately, I won't see his podcast. Therefore, I won't promote it on my podcast or my channel. And a lot of people, like, it's really the butterfly effect. This one little move will affect a lot of different things. He will get less because of it, but it all circles around. He's already got the $100 million. So who cares? From his perspective, he's done. He could quit and just do podcasts and Spotify. He could do half the shows that he used to do, and he would be just fine. But the rest of us, another way to look at this too is think about what just happened with Mixer. Now, I don't know how old Spotify is. I don't know a whole lot about the company itself. I've never had the pleasure to do a deep dive on Spotify. But look at Mixer. Mixer tried to compete. It brought over a bunch of streamers. And 6 months later, or even a year later, depending on how long you were on it, it's dead. So another thing I think of, well, what's to stop another company to come out to compete against Spotify just doing podcasts? A lot of these podcasts go over there, and then 6 months to a year later, it dies. I don't know. Like, these are just thoughts in my head. Like, I don't know what to think. Of course, I'm happy for Joe Rogan, but I'm trying to think about, like, what happens after this transition. Maybe nothing. Maybe this is not a big deal at all. Anyway, I thought it was a very interesting topic just because Joe Rogan going over to Spotify after his success on YouTube, which will segue a little bit into why. And I don't know if a lot of you guys ever really watched Joe Rogan by any measure. I have. Over the last several years, I have watched probably at least half of all his episodes. Half. That's a good amount of media to consume. I believe that's a lot of content, first of all. But second of all, I believe that he's going to... Oh, man, I cannot hold my thoughts together. I cannot. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to be easily distracted by my own self this morning. But I think that just in general, him leaving YouTube is going to leave a vacuum for one. So there'll be somebody that comes up. But YouTube also does the whole copyright and infringement and stuff like that, which is probably a driving force for Joe Rogan. That's what I was going to say. Joe Rogan, for the longest time, Jamie would just play videos. He played music. He would show pictures, everything on the screen. You know, everybody's familiar with the whole term. Jamie, pull that shit up, right? It's like one of those things. Like, your experience is you're there with him. You are looking at the big screen with him. And all in all, it's just one of those things that, unfortunately, law and copyright law, the DCMA, whatever they have in Europe, all those places, they limit what a broadcaster can do. Licensing and big media has made this very challenging to accomplish. And I think it was at the beginning of this year, or it could have been a little bit towards the end of last year, Joe Rogan received, I think, probably his second copyright claim on his video. And he started pushing Vimeo for the longest time. He was trying anything he could to kind of pay it back to YouTube. So this was probably like the perfect opening for him. He wanted a platform that was not going to, I guess you could say, moderate his channel so harshly. But the problem is the law. The problem is the way copyright is done. And then it's even worse because YouTube takes extreme measures to make sure that they are within that law. And that's bad. I mean, it's bad for us. It's good for them. It's good for the government. It's good for licensing holders. But it's bad for the end consumer because we're not getting fantastic... we're not getting fantastic content because of it. The content's being restricted. The conversation is getting muted a little bit. And I think that is also a driving force. I don't know how you survive on YouTube. And listen, this is one of the biggest issues for me too. As a content creator on YouTube now, I started the YouTube channel about 2 weeks ago. And that right there, like there's a reason why there's no music. There's no music right now on this podcast. And the whole reason being is because of copyright infringement. Now, luckily, I use SoundCloud, and those are mostly remixes or like not known songs. But at the same time, if I put those on YouTube, like even a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, they can get claimed. And then what do you do at that point, right? Then you got to remove the media completely, because it's not like I'm going to go back and reshoot it or anything. I think copyright law, I think the DCMA, I think a lot of these laws around the world need to come back to the table and maybe be rehashed again. That's the bad thing. They went too extreme. Like fair use is no longer fair use. Fair use is now weaponized on a lot of platforms, specifically YouTube. Twitch is a little bit different because Twitch is live, where YouTube is more curated. Twitch is live, so it's very hard for them to monetize. This is why they don't do copyright strikes necessarily like they do YouTube. Where if I do a YouTube ad and somebody copyright strikes it, and there's monetization on that video, it will get demonetized. The owner of the copyright will receive all monies associated with that video, unless I can prove otherwise. But during the contesting phase, you don't earn any revenue. So this is horrible. This is very, very bad. If you as a creator put a video up, it gets demonetized, what incentive do you have to make another video? But YouTube's so big and it's owned by Google that it doesn't really care about you. It cares more about not being sued by the copyright holders, because our laws are so terrible and they're so out of date for the digital age. This is not good. So what it's going to do is going to push content creators to go somewhere where they're less likely to get copy strike. This is one of the biggest reasons why I do this podcast on Twitch Live. I take all of the recording. I edit out anything that could potentially be copyright, against copyright or trademark or whatever the issue could be. I have no music on it. It's just me talking for a couple hours, and we just go from there. I do it because it keeps me safe. Because by the time I'm done with this, and if they do a copyright complaint on Twitch for me, the show's already done. It's gone. There's no monetization. So there's no incentive for these companies to claim my videos on Twitch. The only thing they could do is just get me banned on Twitch, so I can't do it anymore. That's the only thing you can do. Whereas YouTube, they can actually take all your money. They can make your time worthless. There's a lot to it. There's a super lot to it. Man, I can't believe I just droned on for that for about 30 minutes. But I want to say at the end, congratulations to Joe Rogan. I think it's an amazing accomplishment that he was able to earn so much because of a passion that he had. He didn't get into this to make $100 million off of Spotify. He got into this because it was a passion. He ended up going to Spotify, which is amazing. I think it's good for him. I think it's good for the industry as a whole, because investors are going to want to come in and find another Joe Rogan podcast to prop up to try to make some money off of it. There will be money that floods into the podcast community because of it. I think in the end, we see more fracturing, because when you're talking about gobs of money, like hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in investments, you're looking at people wanting to get in on that and start their own podcast platform. And it's going to be hard to drive the listens to a lot of these, because people are going to be so focused in, and they're going to want to get a piece of that pie. And that's super hard to do. Absolutely hard to do. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Whew. Anyway, just some thoughts. I was thinking about this last night a little bit, about Joe Rogan and his Grand Slam here. I think it brings a lot to the table, without a doubt. Anyway, the tea is amazing this morning. I can't believe how good it is. I love lemon. I tell you guys this all the time. I absolutely love lemon. Oh man, we are going to also discuss a few other topics like ADHD. Because so at the beginning of this video, I was having trouble keeping my thoughts together. And once upon a time, I used to take Concerta. I talked about this on another podcast, so I'm not going to drive into it very deep. But I took Concerta to amplify my focus. Concerta is nothing more, and Adderall, Ritalin, all them, they're just different variations of like a caffeine, right? They're amphetamines, and it's a stimulant. So it's like taking uppers, except they're prescribed by the doctor and they're totally legal. So you take an upper and you get like ultra focus. There's nothing that's going to take you out of your zone. Well, I don't take those anymore. And I don't take them because I didn't feel like they were good for me. I felt like they stripped away my personality. They stripped away my humor. They stripped away a lot of like the freedom of thought. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Freedom of thought. Like when I'm sitting here as somebody who I won't say suffers, because I definitely don't suffer through ADHD, but somebody that actually lives with ADHD like I do, I have multiple thoughts, it feels like, at the same time. And sometimes I don't know like which direction I want to take my thought process. And so sometimes I try to take them all at once. And it's kind of crazy. I don't know if anybody that's watching has to deal with ADHD. But I also feel like it's a superpower at the same time. I remember, quite frankly, I was in the bank. I was in Navy Federal Credit Union. I was in South Korea, Osan Air Base, and I was in line waiting to open up my business account, or I don't know, deposit a check, whatever it was. I was watching the TV, and the CEO or the editor-in-chief of Gawker Media was on the TV giving an interview. And they asked him, because he had ADHD, and they asked him, do you think ADHD was good or bad? You know, basically, I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember. It was like 8 years ago, maybe. And I'll never forget what his response was. He's like, no, if anything, I wouldn't have gotten this far without it, because ADHD allows me to do more than the average person. And I thought about that, and I thought, wow, that's kind of how it is for me. Because I'm able to do more than the average person. It's kind of slowed down because of my medical issues, you know, because I have a lot of pain in my neck from three discs that are kind of being crushed a little bit. And that's just from years of service and wearing Kevlar helmets and flak vests and all the other crazy crap I had to do, right? Just kind of wore out. Like I have some nerve problems in here. And so the ADHD kind of subsides because of the pain. But ADHD is a blessing and a curse all at once. Like, I can kind of juggle 100 different things, it feels like. But in reality, just so everybody knows, it is impossible to think in parallel. They actually did studies on this, and it is impossible to think like that. You cannot think about multiple things at once. Our brain is serialized. You have one thought at a time. Now, you may have a thought right after another thought, and it could be like a loaf of bread where each piece of bread is a thought, and you just consume it all at once. But it's not in parallel. I used to think that we could do that in parallel. Turns out, not so much. Not so much. ADHD can be really good if you learn how to handle it. It was something I was able to learn in my 20s. Not fully. I couldn't fully like wrap my no pun intended, wrap my head around it. I had to learn that my brain needed to be occupied a lot of the times. So this is why I play like Path of Exile while I'm working on my company, while I'm editing a podcast, while I'm trying to take care of my kids, while I'm making dinner, while I'm putting socks on, while I'm cleaning my office, while I'm thinking about mowing the lawn, thinking about what I got to do tomorrow, like yada, 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 yada. It's, this is a big reason why a lot of my conversations are fractured. And I would say probably about 10 years ago, I decided to just kind of let my thoughts fly unfiltered for the most part, unless I'm in a very different environment. If I'm in an environment that does not allow me to necessarily just riff, then I don't. I know how to turn this on and turn it off at the same time. Now, my brain might be screaming the entire time I'm trying to talk to that person, because I want to talk about, I don't know, everything. I tell people that have ADHD or people that think they have ADHD, I try to give them advice and I try to tell them, find like 3 hobbies. If you can't do just one hobby, find 3 and then do them all at the same time. Because all the brain wants is activity. That's it. When it comes to ADHD, this is why Path of Exile is super handy for me. I'm able to do all kinds of things at once in the game, and I can kind of drown out the world a little bit. Streaming is like that for me too. Streaming allows me to have a conversation with the community, kind of get my thoughts out, kind of bring this thing together, and it's a lot of fun. I guess in a way, it's just a distraction for my brain to function correctly. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It can't be a huge, a bad thing by any means. It's just something that you have to work on, as a human being. It's not a huge deal. Does anybody suffer from ADHD in the community? I don't know if any of the guys that are watching currently do or not. But if you do, I would say join a community, especially if you're younger. If you're younger, like my parents, and I think a lot of parents don't realize what ADHD is and what ADD is. I don't think it's something that you should medicate. I just don't think, and I understand there's a lot of parents out there that want their kids to focus in English at school because they're doing very well, or very poorly. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you're stifling the development of learning how to live with it, right? Because what's the kid going to do? Is the kid going to take Ritalin? Going to take Concerta for the rest of their lives? That doesn't make sense. I mean, it's horrible. Back, my internet died. Oh man, glad to have you back. I think that Ritalin, Concerta, and all the other ADHD, ADD medications, I don't think they're necessarily great as an alternative. I understand that they give you immediate gratification, right? The kid, boom, takes the pill, he's sitting there and he's learning. But it's going to change the kid. It's going to change him or her drastically. They're going to have to learn to live without a sense of humor. They're going to be more, college-bound focused. They're going to lose a little bit of themselves. So I never did it. I never medicated any of my kids. And I could tell you probably three of them have probably ADD. So ADD is more common in women or females. ADHD is more common in males. So typically you will not find very many women that will be diagnosed with ADHD. They will typically all be diagnosed with ADD. And I think as somebody that has ADHD severely, I know my brother does. My brother has it way worse than I do. Like, he does not stop moving through the day. Like, I can actually take 20 minutes to an hour and go plop my butt on the couch and watch some videos. He can't even do that. He is moving from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to sleep. And he probably doesn't even realize how bad he has ADHD. But he has a different form of ADHD. Because while he's creative in a different sense. He's a lot like my dad. My dad was, very hands-on. He was a carpenter. And he likes to build things. He likes to do things, painting, whatever. My brother's a lot like that. He likes creating things with his hands. He likes to actually just kind of, I don't know, like put all of his ideas into material. So he owns his own heating and cooling company, for example. And every single job is unique from the other. Like, no house is really built the same. It's very rare. Like, the only time you're ever going to get that is if, you're doing a huge amount of, condos, right? You go onto a project and there's, 20 condos. They have the exact same layout. You're doing the same exact layout in each one. That's a pretty standard thing. But typically, I think each job is different. And it challenges him to come up with a creative solution for each. And I find that to be very interesting because I'm the other side of things. I use the left side of my brain a lot more than my brother does. My brother's more right brain, with ADHD, and I'm more left brain with ADHD. So that's why I have 40 websites. I have like all these brands. I have had all these companies throughout my life. I've had all of these changes throughout my life. And it's just very interesting to think actually. I've never actually sat down and really kind of like riffed off of this particular subject. But yeah, I think my brother is ADHD right brain. That's actually insane when I think about that. But you know what? We never took medicine. I did later on in life. I took it when I was like I think from age 34 to 37 is when I took Concerta. And at first, I thought it was awesome. I was hitting all my deadlines. I was pushing out content. I was helping people. I was firing on all cylinders. Then I realized I wasn't very funny anymore, and people weren't like dying to hang out with me anymore. And then I realized, like, oh, that's because it took out my left side of the brain. So what Concerta did for me, being a left brain ADHD person, it kind of transitioned me over to the right side. And that wasn't very fun for me because while I can accomplish those things that my brother does, I can work with my hands. I've certainly built many things in my life. I don't actually enjoy it. I enjoy the creativity part. I enjoy coming up with like a logo development. I enjoy building a website. I enjoy brainstorming. Like I would love to sit around in like a circle of chairs with other creative people, smoking a joint and talking about, awesome solutions to whatever problems there are in the world. That's the kind of creative person I am. I really like working with others. I really like engaging with my community. And I don't mean like my Twitch community. I mean my community at large. Like the people I've known since I was born to today. Like that's my community. I don't know. I just think it's a very interesting idea. If you guys have ever dealt with ADHD, you probably can relate to some of the things that I'm saying. And it's good. It's super good. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. That was actually a pretty good one. I think this is what helps me actually focus on YouTube and Twitch, my website and Twitter and like all these things at once, plus run, my games and all of that. I think there's just like a combination of like kind of all of it. You know what I mean? Gremlin, hey, welcome to the stream. How are you today? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. We're just about maybe midway through this morning's podcast, and it's been great. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. We just talked about Joe Rogan going over to Spotify and what that means for the industry. And then I was just talking about ADHD and what's it like to be, somebody with ADHD. And then, there's something I want to talk about today, and that's the U.S. and China relationship from a business point of view, not like political. I mean, yes, it is political, but I've been thinking a lot about this lately too. And you guys can chime in any way you want. If you want to throw some thoughts in there, I'd love to hear from you. I own a small business, and a lot of my products come from China. And the reason being is I can't get them made anywhere else. Like here in the U.S., for those that are not in the U.S., let me explain a little bit how this works. So through the EPA, through a lot of things, like as regulations, federal government goes, and all of that, a lot of companies closed. And perfect example. So I made coins. I don't think I don't have any. No, I don't have any like laying around or anything. So I used to make commemoration coins for the military. They're called military challenge coins. If you want, here I'll look them up. Let's see, military challenge coins. So we have a reference here. Is that boom? All right, here we go. These coins right here. I'm not going to a website or anything like that. A lot of these coins are probably ones I've designed as well. Hold on, is there any that? All right, maybe not off the top of my head. This one, I did this one. I know I did that one. I did 3,500 different designs during my time. I did this one here. Let's see. I don't know. I can go through and tell you all of them. But anyway, these are military challenge coins. And this is how it affect my business. Okay. Punisher. Oh yeah. These guys, they don't even like copyright and all that doesn't matter for these things. People just use whatever and they're never busted on it or anything like that. So I used to own a company that designed and had these printed over in China, in Thailand, in Hong Kong, in Korea, different parts of it, right? Yeah, for real. And I was the number one company from 2008 to 2011. It was fantastic. And then it failed in like Grand Spectre. But at the end of the day, I couldn't make these in the United States. When I started doing these, there was only two mints in the United States that was allowed to smelt metal and actually produce their own coins. Now, they were 5 times more expensive to have them done in the US than it was in China. So the cost of doing business, I just told all my customers this exact same spiel. And I said, I'm sorry, if I could make them in the US, I would. But the EPA passed legislation that limited smelting of metal in the United States. So it was virtually impossible to start a new foundry. Even if you had the money and the drive and everything else, you just couldn't. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that this is fact. This is what it was. So I had all my coins made in China. I was at their mercy, essentially. Well, a lot of that is still going on today. So all these legislative problems that the US created 20, 30 years ago, and I just gave you one example, one of probably millions of examples. My mother had a similar problem. She used to get her company's product manufactured in the US, but it's too expensive, right? But sometimes like they eliminate even that possibility through regulation. And I'm a supporter of regulation, so please don't take that any other way. Like I believe that certain regulation is necessary. But then we had tariffs come. We had a new president that thought that, oh, look at those avocados. These things look good. We had a new president that thought the tariffs were easy to win. That a trade tariff, easy game. What, trade war? Psh, I could do that, no problem, in my sleep. Now, companies are going out of business. So I'll give you a prime example. So my products, I ordered, how much? I paid $8,000 for an order in April, right? Just one order. I paid $8,000 cash to have the things manufactured. I ended up paying, so my margin on my products are about 30%. So by the time I pay eBay fees, PayPal fees, shipping, the product itself, all of that stuff combined, I make between 20 and 30%. The more I sell, the bigger the quantity I sell, the more margin I have. That's just the way my business is. And I paid on that $8,000, I paid $3,000 in tariffs. Any math experts out there? Can you figure out what's wrong with that? Now you would say, well, just make them yourself. Well, let me tell you, you can't make filter bags in the US. You just can't. There's nowhere to get these manufactured. I've looked. There's no other country that manufactures these. None. I am one of many, many companies that are running into this problem right now. This is a huge issue with this trade war. And this is why, the reason why I'm even talking about this is I was in Walmart the other day. And I wanted to buy some free weights, mostly so I can get this gun show really up to par. And I went in and I thought like, just grab a couple 10 plates. Maybe I'll grab some 15 plates and a curling bar. You know, I mean, I'm stuck at home. What am I doing anyway? I might as well pump some iron. Their shelves were bare. There, not even one. I think they had one kettlebell and it was like 5 pounds. And then it dawned on me, holy shit, this is bigger than we think. It's not about the supply chain. It's not about that at all. Like literally, I'm going to lose money from all the inventory purchases from April going forward. Anything that I pay tariffs on, because my tariffs for my category are 40%. Well, it's a they gave me 3 different tariff codes, one for each pack, each shipment, and they all varied. So one I paid like 25% on, another one I paid 40% on, and another one I paid like 35% on, something like that. But anyway, the total was on $8,000 in purchase, I paid $3,000 in unnecessary fees to the US government, and that was my entire profit and then some. So I need to hope that my company stays alive past January 21st in order to keep my company going. Because if Joe Biden wins, this just trade war will stop. Overnight, we will see all tariffs end. I feel like that will happen. But the bigger picture is what I'm getting to at Walmart. Because a lot of you guys are probably starting to see this around the world. And I think it's very interesting. I feel like I missed half this conversation. Could you give me a breakdown of what we're chatting about? Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and summarize. You didn't miss anything, I don't think. I don't think. So all I was talking about was basically how I source my products and how the tariffs are affecting the U.S. I don't know if other countries have these tariffs as well. So I don't know if like the UK is experiencing this. I'm not sure if old Bojo there has followed suit with Donald Trump. But for me, it's definitely affected us. So I'm just trying to explain basically in how damaging this has become in one facet of American life, business-wise. So I was in Walmart. I find that there's no workout plates at all. There's no weightlifting free plates. And then I was like, I started thinking about it, and I started like walking around the store, and I noticed certain items out of stock. And these items all come from China. Like I can tell you, we're not making plates, workout plates. If you go through, I mean, everything for streaming is out. You cannot buy an Elgato Stream Deck. You can't buy a Roland. If you go look for a lot of equipment, you'll see that it's out of stock. And then I realized it dawned on me, this isn't a shipping problem. This is a tariff problem. Because of what I just described. I paid $8,000 for my products. I have a 20 to 30% margin of profit, which I end up paying out for salary and stuff like that. But I paid almost 40% in tariffs. I am now negative 10 to 20% profit just because my country decided to have a trade war with China. And I think it's starting to happen with a lot of supplies. So if you think of America as a grander scale outside of myself, I'm using myself as an example. All these businesses don't produce anything in this country. They have all outsourced to increase their margins. They are not replacing their inventory because what's the point of losing money? I live in Australia and tariffs aren't a thing. We pay to ship nationally. It used to be fine. I didn't get hit with a tariff until April. April was the first time. So as a country, I'm kind of worried about that. Australia has its own problems too. And every country does. Right now, this just happens to be ours because of the COVID. COVID is slowing everything down. Mail, packages, everything. But companies aren't restocking. I couldn't believe how much like things they're out of. Like if you go, a great example, if you try to go and buy a motherboard of an X570 motherboard right now, if you were doing a new computer build, good luck. There are none. There are none. How much do you think they make off of motherboards, for example? Like sometimes I like to think, so if I pay $200, oh, it's raining too. Look at that. Nice. If I pay $200 for a motherboard, taxes, R&D, actual production of it, the shipping, they probably, what do you think the margin is? Hold on. Motherboard Margin. Let's see if there's anybody. Let me see. Sales margin. That's 14. Does this give me anything? I'm just curious because what my point is, I don't know what the tariffs are on things like motherboards, but if they're going to pay more in tariffs and not have any profits, then there's no reason to make this product until after there's no tariffs. Because if you're not making money, you're not in business. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. How does a tariff work in business? I'm a little confused. All right, that's a great question. This is how a tariff works. Yeah, it's a VAT. It's essentially a VAT at customs. So $8,000 of my products come in, and it goes to customs and whatever they're called. Customs verifies that I'm not like trafficking, cocaine or whatever through this. They check my products. Oh, it's from China. Okay, we are going to arbitrarily charge you 30% of the total value, and you can write us a check for that. Oh, well, sir, where does that money go? It just goes to the Treasury. Oh, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to reinvest it into the Small Business Agency or administration? Oh, no. We're just going to spend it. Like, there's no value to them doing it. And then so what happens, and I'll tell you exactly what happens, because if you guys ever experience this overseas, this is how it works. So I paid $3,000 in tariffs. Arbitrary fee, just $8,000 show up. It's from China. We need 40%. Please write us a check for $3,000. There's nothing in return. That money doesn't go anywhere good. It just goes back to the U.S. Treasury to spend through Congress. That's a tariff. In the euro, they call it the VAT, value added tax. So you order a package, you pay 20% of it, and you don't get it. What's that 20%? It just goes to your government to spend. That's what it is. And so for the first time in May, I raised all packages by $1. $1. So guess who actually pays for that tariff? The people. Because I'm not paying it. That $1 increase will actually allow my business to survive while the U.S. government takes a little bit off the top. And I still have to pay taxes on my business. That's the insane part. Luckily, I only have to pay taxes on the profit. And there won't be any. So guess who's not paying taxes this year? Sadly, I've already done it at customs. All right, what did I miss? Let's catch up on the chat. Tariff is just added tax? Yes. Was a tariff? Hopefully I explained that. If I did not, please let me know and I'll try again. Wow, you just randomly slammed with a bill. Yes. I have, let me just show you. Hold on. So after each stream back in May, I won't show you like the whole thing, but like here's one. Here's one right here. Boom. Right there. This is from UPS, and I'll read this. Total charges. Okay, so let me see over here. And I'm only doing this because it's insane they're allowed to do that. No, I mean, yes, it is insane that they're allowed to do that. It's insane that Donald Trump can just say we're going to add tariffs, and that's it. There's no Congress. There's no Parliament. There's nothing to say otherwise. So it says entered value $3,667. Tariff rate 25%. Oh, this is the one I got off light because the second line they gave it to me for free. So I was only charged 25%. So I had to pay $917 on $3,700 worth of goods. It all got passed along to my customers. They are now paying more for their goods, not me. Not me. And that is how our world is getting screwed over right now. A lot of people don't understand that this is happening to them on all of their products. It's insane that the U.S. government take this much money from business while printing so much. It's insane right now. Right now, it is absolutely insane right now how much they're actually taking out of businesses. And with the COVID and all the small businesses here in the U.S. right now are struggling to even stay open. So on top of tariffs, they're not getting any government help. They're not getting any kind of support. Like restaurants, there was a restaurant 2 miles down the road from me. They've been in business for 26 years. It's for sale for $450,000. Right now, you could open up a restaurant 3 miles from my house, 2 miles, 3 miles, and you could easily go right out of business right along with them because nobody is going to restaurants and our government is not doing anything. I don't know if you guys are feeling that particular part around the world. Is your government doing anything? Has the UK even stepped it up after Bojo got COVID and then healed up and then told everybody that they're fat and they need to get skinny? I think what he meant to say was he's really fat and he needed to get skinny. He was just projecting that on everybody else, so he wouldn't feel so fat alone. Let's see. Oh yeah, dude. If you're feeling sleepy, man, yeah, you're probably ready for a nap. Hey, can anybody tuck Gary in? He's probably in for a nap right now. Sorry, man. I am like running a boring kind of big brain kind of podcast this morning, but that happens. I remember to used to think inflation wasn't real. The recession was all fake news. I was a dumb kid, dude. We were all dumb kids. Is it that bad? Yes. Right now, it is super bad. Like really, really bad here in the U.S. Businesses are boarding up left and right. I don't know how many businesses have gone out. I don't think we have like the numbers out for that. I think it's too soon. But I can tell you that there are so many empty buildings driving just the 2 miles down the road right here in my small town. It's insane. Only the ones that like have like necessary items, toilet paper, milk, bread, grocery stores, those kinds of things. Those are the only ones that are really surviving. And even then, they're not surviving like they were, in December or even last year, Hey, but we do have good news. Speaking of COVID, I actually do have one that I want to bring up. It's not boring. It's interesting. No, I'm just teasing. I was just teasing Grevlin. It was more of a jab at Gary. Listen, I find all these topics to be interesting. In Australia, I work as a oh, Jesus. A gas station and the government now takes 60 cents from each. Now that's a whole different topic, right? Because that is fossil fuels. I'm on the fence because we as a world, we're not ready to go into electric vehicles. And unfortunately, a lot of people have demonized the fossil fuel industry, and for good reason. For good reason, because they are not good stewards of the environment. The oil spills, I didn't do it. Oh, it wasn't me, right? It's a lot of that kind of stuff. And it's hard to love a company that is bad for your community. And sadly, I don't know Australia's how let me see. Let's look this up. Let's look it up. Australia electric car market. Let's see. What will Tesla fuck Tesla, by the way. Have you guys seen the latest on Elon Musk? He's given 7 times more to the Republicans that are up for re-election. These are the same people that are creating disastrous policy for the U.S. around the world. And he wants more of that. He's basically voting with his money for more kids in cages, for more Muslim bans, for more like insane policies. Therefore, I have decided a few weeks ago that Elon Musk can eat like the largest bag of dicks that you can import from another country other than China. So like India has like 1 billion dicks. Like if we could import all of those and Elon Musk can just eat those, I would be happy. I'd be super happy. What's the next business? Oh, wait. So what's the next for business in the U.S.? Surely America can't give every family enough money to live happily. People still got to work, right? This is where All right, this is actually a really good discussion. Let me see if I can try to dress this up correctly for you. It's a great question for sure. What is next? So, in December, Donald Trump signed a $1.5 trillion. No, this was 2 years ago, not last December, but the December before that. A $1.5 trillion tax cut for the wealthy and businesses. He's also done one more, and right now, he's done one more smaller one for businesses specifically during the COVID. And now he's also trying to cut the wage tax. I forget exactly which tax it is, the wage tax, I believe. There are so many cuts that we have done that there's only like 350 million people in the US. We are supposedly the richest country in the world, but we just gave the US military again every single year. Keep this in mind. Every single year we give the military $775 billion to operate. That's billion with a B. For every dollar the US spends, 20% of it goes to the military. But now it's more like 27%, I believe, of every dollar now goes to defense. That's insanity. That is absolute insanity. We can't give people money because we're giving it right back to the wealthy. The wealthy have bought our politicians, and they are producing the legislation. The wealthy and corporations are writing and drafting and paying politicians to vote yes on their policies. It's people like me, people like you, the average people that are losing. You know, the average like home income in the US has gone down by like $8,000 per year per person, year over year in the last like 3 or 4 years. It's insanity. What's next for the businesses? I think we implode. If this continues and there's no kind of like recovery plan, no national plan, then I just believe that the US implodes. I believe that our business saturation, our markets recede into the likes of 1960s or even the 50s, where only major corporations are there. Mom and pops don't have the money to start a new business. That's where I see this going. I see this. We're already in a recession. We have officially been told that the U.S. is in a recession. I think we're within days or weeks of a full-blown depression. I think we will see in the likelihood of 40 to 50% of our service-based industries go out of business. It just is what it is. I think we see 3 to 4 airlines bankrupt, combined into one conglomerate. Like I see this for every industry. So pick your industry, and this is where it's going to be. Nobody can rent here either. Like nobody's making money. We have 20% unemployment rate right now. And the way that the US calculates its unemployment rate is only by who is actively searching for work in like the last 3 months or something. So it doesn't count any of the long-term job hunters. People have given up, you know. Listen, if you haven't like followed my voice, we're effed. We are so effed. We used to be number one, man. Not anymore. Let's see. Watery Goat. Let's see. That's a fair point, to be honest. Although they only started taking that money at the start of COVID, which COVID has been so destructive in so many different facets. It's insane. One pound is $1.31. It used to be $1.79. The last time I checked, which was a long time ago. I think what you said is a lot. Yeah, maybe. It's a lot of money. So what I am speaking in just the amounts of money that I'm talking about is almost incomprehensible. Like I almost can't even tell you what $1 billion look like. You could bring in a forklift of this money, or even a billion euro, a billion lira, a billion won, peso, whatever. If you brought me a billion, well, maybe not Venezuelan money, because a billion Venezuelan money looks like 10 bills. I mean, it sucks. I don't know what you do. I don't know what we do as a world community. I don't know what we do. God, that's insane to say. As a world community, we're almost 8 billion people, and we can't even get out of our own way. That's insane. Do you think America would fall into a Great Depression in a few years for the inflation of money? No, I see it by the end of this year. By the end of this year, it'll be absolutely bonkers. If this, and this is an if, this is if the federal government does not come together in the next 3 days and pass some kind of beneficial legislation for the American people during COVID, if that doesn't happen, then evictions and everything else start immediately. Like August 1st, I believe, they may even start July 21st. I'm thinking the 1st. So it's either the 21st or the 1st of August. And the Republicans are trying to get an FBI headquarters during this. They're trying to get immunity for business owners. So if you go to work and you get COVID-19 at your business because they opened up and you had no other option, they forced you to come back to work. Because if your business opens up and you don't go back to work, you're not allowed to collect unemployment. You are ineligible for benefits for up to a year if you do not go back to work if your business opens, even if you fear for your own safety. These are all sentences. Let me just caveat this real quick. These are all sentences that I never thought in my life I would have to say out loud. Like, these were always like doomsday like thoughts. These were always like, man, could you imagine if that happened? Like, even when the video game Plague Inc. came out, everybody was like, oh man, that's such an awesome game. Like, now, is it? Like, I played it once on stream like a month ago, and listen, I'll be honest, it hit a little too close to home. I can't play it. I just can't play it. I mean, literally, if you're watching what's happening in just the US, like, congrats to the rest of the world, by the way. The rest of the world seems like they're doing a great job, except Brazil and maybe the UK and Russia. I think everybody else is pretty much good, right? But that video game cuts hard because the US, I think we lost. Let me see. Let me pull it up. I really don't want to go down this route for this podcast, but if I'm going to mention it, I'd like to at least have my facts straight. Okay, so right here. United States confirmed 4.38 million cases. Deaths. We just hit 150,000 dead Americans. That's a lot. That's a lot. Especially when the world has 654,000. The U.S. is not that populated. When you compare against like India and China and a lot of these other countries, we only have 350 million people. That's not a lot. Literally, this is over 1% of the U.S. population has or had COVID. I'm about to go into another little speech about being number one. We have something called fortune tax. So everyone who has over 1 million pays more than the average person. Right. That's what we're trying to do here. Medical insurance. Yeah, that is exactly what the people are trying to do right here. Right now, some of the riots are because we're not getting the things we need. Because the rich people own the politics. So the rich people are telling the politicians to pass these policies to force poor people to go back to work, to never allow universal health care, to never give vacation or family days for let's say I have a kid, or not me, but my wife has a kid, and I'm in the hospital, and I say to my boss like, hey, I need like 2 weeks. My wife just got a C-section and she needs time to heal, and she can't carry the baby, so I need to be there. And here in the U.S., they'll just fire you. They're like, oh yeah, we don't give those. You're fired. Or like, no, you can't have that, because the rich people. They embedded themselves into the politicians, and it is no longer we the people. That's the problem. Currently, it is no longer we the people. It's not right, man. It's not right. The world is not right. I guess you could say that. That's probably like the best part. Not the best part, but like the best thing that you could say is the U.S. is pretty messed up right now. There was something in particular. Let me go to Rising. Not Rising there. Oh, hold on here. Hold on. This just happened. Yo, this just happened. While I've been podcasting, this just happened. Trump Jr. suspended by Twitter for posting misleading and potentially harmful information about coronavirus. Wow. That's big news. That's huge. They actually took action against a Trump. Thank God. This dipshit needs to get off of there. This guy needs to find his way into a prison cell as well. I don't know what's wrong with this guy, except that, he is a Trump. I don't know. Sad but true, the entire planet is just falling to pieces at the moment. Well, I don't know. I mean, like, in my direct view, it is. But then you got places like New Zealand, which are a bastion of hope. New Zealand is a great place to look at when you want to say, like, oh, I wonder who did it right. And then you look at New Zealand, you're like, wow, they have zero COVID? Zero? And everybody's good? Everybody's healthy? Everybody's taken care of? I mean, I'm sure they have their problems, but not to the magnitude that we have. You know what I mean? So there's still hope for me. I still think the world at large is still a good place. I just think right now, like, the U.S. is treading into fascism quite heavily, I would say. I'm very scared about that. I didn't serve in the U.S. military for 20 years for that. Certainly not. Even people who have survived COVID isn't a possibility that could catch. That's what I wanted. No, actually, that is what I was trying to get to. So I want to get to the old coronavirus subreddit. So there was something. Let me see. It should be like right here. Boom. This guy. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about COVID, but this is super, super important. So like 2 weeks ago on the podcast, I had mentioned that they realized, Trump reminds me of off the Talking Orange meme. Oh, you're talking about, what's his name? The annoying orange? Is that what you mean? Or is this like a different kind of orange meme? Dude, I miss the annoying orange. I love that. I love that channel. Does he still do that, by the way? I don't even know. I actually haven't searched for the annoying orange in at least 5 years. So like 2 weeks ago, they realized, oh shit, the COVID-19 is not an airway virus. It's a blood virus. It's causing clotting in major organs and organ failure. And then they shut down, and then that person dies. So today, They loosely was talking about it yesterday, but today I saw this. 78% of COVID-19 patients show sign of heart damage after recovery. And if you go through this article, it says that it basically scars the heart, and it looks like somebody that had, like, after somebody has a heart attack, the heart looks like that. And this is all from like cardiologists and stuff examining all the patients that they can. He's still a thing. Yeah. Wow. That is nuts. I'm so glad he is doing it. I love what he's doing. I just don't have time to watch him. I think the thought that this is a blood virus just made COVID like 5 times scarier than when it was just an airway thing. Because as a smoker myself, I'm just thinking like, not a big deal. And not cigarettes. That's gross. But I put smoke in my lungs all the time, which is an irritant to my lungs. And so I feel like if I get COVID, if I ever have to come on to this podcast and announce that I tested positive for COVID-19, just know that I firmly believe I have an 80% chance of dying. And that's based that I am a smoker. You smoke cigarettes, that's even worse, man. But that's worse for a different reason. That's worse because of, potential lung cancer and all that. The carcinogens that are in the tobacco itself. But there are carcinogens in anything that you smoke in your lungs, whether it's a vape pen, whether it's marijuana, whether it's CBD, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's cigars. They all come with their own like risk. But now that COVID is a blood disease, this is a very different thing. Think about the people that are on heart meds like myself. I take a light dose of blood pressure medicine every morning. It's ever so slight, but still it's real. But now if I get COVID and I survive it, how long is it till I die from heart disease? What does the scarring do? Like this is all like so much, man. For all those idiots out there that think that they can go maskless and go to like prayers and go to these arenas for shows and everything else. Like, I don't think they really understand what this thing is because nobody else does either yet. We're still learning as a species. We're learning how bad this COVID is. And some people will stop and they'll try to derail you and be like, well, I think this is man-made. Like, you know what? Who gives a shit at this point? At this point, it doesn't matter whether it's natural or man-made. At this point, we either got to fight it or we're screwed. And I wanted to give you guys some good news. So I wanted to tell you guys all the bad news. Hold on. Where's the tags? The tags. Hold on. There's one tag with good news. Where is it? Oh, it might actually be pretty far. Let me go to Rising. Isn't it true that there might be a second wave of the virus? For certain countries that managed to get out of the first wave, yes. So, for example, if let's say New Zealand. Wait, no. Which country was it? It's Vietnam. Vietnam had 3. So they were down to 0 cases. They were at 0 cases for like weeks. And then they had 3 cases positive, I think yesterday. And then they evacuated the city of 80,000 people because of it. So if those 3 cases amplify into more and more and more cases, that would signify a second wave. Because we can assume that they finished the first wave. They were good, and now the cases are going to come back up. So the problem with like saying is there going to be a second wave for somewhere like where I am in the U.S. The problem is we are still in our first wave. For the foreseeable future, we will be in our first wave. So we decided not to do anything as a country, and we won't see a second wave. I mean, we may, but it'll be after we fix whatever this is. I honestly don't know. But I think the good news I'm about to share will be a little bit better. I see there was a woman in America who went out to prove that COVID was fake and died of COVID. I'm glad. Like, listen, I support it. I don't know. It's kind of a tough thing, right? Because there are a lot of ignorant Americans. Our education system is garbage. I believe we're number 38 in the education around the world. It's bad. There's a lot of stupid people here. I can say that. Do you send them to their death because they didn't know better? I mean, think of it this way. In religion, they baptize babies because they're not old enough to understand and accept Jesus Christ into their heart. Sir, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior? So we baptize them. And I asked once, I said to the pastor at my mom's church, I said, "Why are you baptizing babies? I don't understand." They said, "Well, they're not old enough, to go to church and understand. So if we baptize them, they'll still go to heaven if they were to die." I said, "Ooh, that's pretty grim, obviously." Well, it's the same way, right? I mean, we didn't educate a lot of these Americans in a way that they could understand the real harm and how the government works and how disease works and how all this stuff works. Do you accept and root them on that they go on to every retreat and catch COVID and die? I mean, that's kind of a darker way to think about it. And like 3/4 of me wants to say, yeah, if you don't believe in it and you want to go out and get it, like, go ahead. You're free to do that. It's your constitutional right to be as stupid as you want. But the quarter of me, like, listen, I get sad when I lose a guppy in my fish tank. So when I think about how many people have died needlessly from the COVID, I also get sad because they were my countrymen. They were somebody's grandma, they were somebody's dad, they were somebody's cousin, they were somebody's brother, and it's a tough thing to really say and mean. I would never want death for anybody, but it's hard for me to miss somebody when there were so many opportunities to still be here. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I'm just spitting out words today. My province, that is quite large, like 2 states combined, have 2,000 active cases spread around. You're lucky. You're pretty lucky, dude. That's not a lot of cases compared to some places. That's actually for sure. Let me see. Daily change. Let's just go to, this is my state right here. So I'm right below you, Gary. Right now, my small state, I think my state has like 13 million people in it, and we have 6,400. In my small county, we have 320. Yo, who's here? Yo, FedEx is here. What do you guys think FedEx is going to bring me? Anything good? Ooh, I think they're coming to my house. Hold on. Yes. All right, we'll see what I have. So you can see, like, I have 320 confirmed cases and 13 deaths in my county. Now, from what I know, all 13 of these deaths were actually out of an assisted living facility. Not that it makes it better. Like, as far as the U.S. goes, I'm relatively in a really safe spot. Now, I could go out without my mask and I'd probably be all right, but I wouldn't. Because it's not the right thing to do. Okay, hold on one second because it's raining outside, so I have to get this package off the porch. Hold on one second. Thank you. I always say hi and I always say thank you to every one of my delivery guys, whether it's FedEx, UPS, DHL, or the USPS. I always say thank you, because those guys are risking a lot to bring me my items that I purchase online. And these are some tough times, man. These are some serious tough times. Natural selection at the point, though, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's Darwinism, it's natural selection. I mean, I guess you could argue that these people had an opportunity to, seek out more education, that they had an opportunity to open their minds and learn a little bit and chose not to. I don't know, man. I feel bad for wishing it upon them, but I also understand that they wanted it. If my cousin heard that, oh, Jesus. It's just an unfortunate thing. But anyway, let me just flock back and find this one thing. So they actually, whoa. This is a new one. This is actually a new one, 38 minutes ago. So I was reading about it this morning. And the first human trial for COVID, the COVID vaccine, they just did 150,000 people, and half of them are going to be a placebo, and half of them are going to be the actual vaccine. It's third phase testing, and Dr. Fauci, I think that's how you say Fauci. He's the leading guy here in the U.S. I'm sure people are familiar with him. He actually said that we may see a vaccine ready to go September, but probably more like November. Now, if you guys have listened to me for any length of time, I've been saying probably not until next summer before you can go to your doctor and get a vaccine for it. And here we are. Look at this. First ever treatment for COVID-19 was just approved in Canada. Canada's doing great things. I'm envious of Canada. And I hope to God you guys keep Justin Trudeau. I don't know, however you say Trudeau. Whatever. Old handsome Justin, let's call him that. I hope you guys keep handsome Justin because he's doing great things for your country. I saw the previous prime minister and he was his name Harper or something like that? Dude, he was a load of hot garbage. Absolutely hot garbage. So I haven't even read this yet, and I'm not going to. We're not going to get directly into the like pins and needles of this. My school is reopening 2 weeks and it's going to reclose. Dude, I'm telling you, it's not going to reopen. I don't think it's going to reopen. I think everybody's trying to play chicken to see if everybody will play along. And I think as we get closer, I don't think it's going to happen. There will be some places that do it. So like this week here in the U.S., I thought I read somebody that said Georgia was opening some schools this week. Somewhere in America, there's a school system that's opening this week. And I'm telling you, watch all those teachers die and all those kids get it. And the rest of the world's going to be like, oh shit, we should probably not do that. And that's hopefully going to help you. We actually have a ban on face covering and it can give you a fine if you're caught. So Mashi, are you saying that there's no masks allowed? That's terrible. That is, if that's the case, that is awful. It is my school council announced. Damn. Like, as long as it's done right, I guess I'm okay with it to a degree. As long as the class sizes were super small, masks were mandatory everywhere, temperatures were taken as the kids come in every single morning. Like, but I'll be honest, I really think that they should delay the school openings around the world for at least 6 more months. Even in the Philippines, if you're familiar with Rodrigo Duterte, that's their president. He announced yesterday, now their school system goes from June to March. They're a little bit different. And all schools will be online only through January 2021. That is actually enough time to possibly get a vaccine out there. That might be enough time because everybody is pushing so hard to get a vaccine. It is my school. Let me see. Schools were planning to open here too. My brother is a teacher. He was doing staff training for the last 2 weeks. Yes, everybody is trying to stay on target, but I think the reality is going to be much darker. I think people are going to learn very quickly that yeah, we can't do that. I think schools shouldn't open as of yet until yeah. I mean, listen, what's the big deal if we just shut down schools for 6 months? I mean, I understand that there's a possibility to lose some knowledge there along the way. They say that kids dump like a certain percentage of knowledge over the summer vacation. But at the same time, I'd rather my kids be here next year or their teachers be here next year than force this reopening. I don't understand to what benefit. I don't know who's benefiting off of this. I mean, you got to follow the money. I'm just saying, like, I don't understand what the big push is. They did a survey and the boomers said we should go back. Yeah, because they're all fucking idiots. They're not all. I'm sorry. I was just lashing out. Just lashing out. There are a good size. I would say in the boomer like generation, I would actually say there's a majority that doesn't give a shit about anybody else but themselves. True story. I can tell you because I listen and I talk to some of them, and they could give a shit less about anybody else. It's kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy. Scarf, face mask, those neck sleeves, or whatever they are called, are banned. That's crazy, dude. So let's see. You're in the Netherlands, right? I always ask because I'm terrible with right, Netherlands. There we go. Wait, Netherlands or Norway? I always get those two confused. Denmark. God damn. See, this is how bad I am. Denmark. Jesus. Come on, get your stuff together. All right, Denmark. Let's see what Denmark's working with. Dude, I smoke way too much pot to remember every little detail. I apologize. I still love you guys, but look at this. 13,000 confirmed, recovered, and deaths. But this is today. Hold on. Daily change, total cases. Total? Oh, you guys are actually doing pretty good. Even with. So are you guys self-isolating? You guys must be self-isolating. Like lockdown must be pretty serious for you guys. Because if masks were banned, I would expect these numbers to be significantly higher. So that would be my takeaway. Is that true? Is Denmark like really, really taking this stuff serious? I'm a millennial, but I see where parents are coming from because their child is missing out on education. Well, you know, it's simple. My mother never graduated 10th grade. She dropped out of high school. So what was she going to teach me? If her education was only 10th grade, and my parents were divorced, so I lived with her. She was the only adult I had. I mean, I had my dad every other weekend, but what are you going to learn every other weekend? So 24/7, I had an adult that never graduated 10th grade. I think later on in life she got her GED. I'm not really, but what's a GED? I don't equate it to high school. And then so if my mom is a boomer, I'm whatever generation right before millennial. I was born in 1978, and I can tell you that my mom's generation, I don't like talking to them very much. I really have a strong disdain for talking to that generation because that generation. I'm sorry for swearing so much, but I'm just saying they have that fuck you got mine attitude. They all do. All of them. I mean, maybe there's one or two that don't, but for the most part, the ones I interact with, it's pretty terrible. Man, I gotta stop with the blanket statements, you know? Yeah, even I remembered that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Besides, we haven't been in lockdown for a few months now anyway, and no one uses face mask. So the only thing I can think of is, are your borders closed? Are your airports closed? Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, how are you guys not, like, with no face masks? I don't know, man. I don't even know what to think about that. I'm going to have to digest that. We don't have, like, like US, a lockdown in Sweden. No, yeah, but Sweden has terrible numbers. Let's look. Before I rip and I say that Sweden is terrible. Oh, yeah. Sweden has terrible numbers. 80,000 people. How big's your country? Let me see. Wait, what's Sweden's? Hold on. Sweden is the one country that did just like the US. Nothing. Sweden decided to do absolutely nothing. They have 10 million people. So out of 10 million people, 80,000. Damn, that's almost 1%. That's almost 1% of Sweden. You guys are right there with the US, just on a smaller scale. I would say you guys are equal to the US. Damn, dude. Stay safe over there. Seriously. Please stay safe. Where I'm currently living has peaked again with COVID. Let me see. I don't know where you're living exactly, but holy crap. Holy crap. And I did the United Kingdom. I don't know if that's fair. Should I do the United Kingdom or England? The United States, United Kingdom, because I know the kingdom also includes Ireland, Scotland. So 66 million people, 300,000 confirmed. That's bananas. That is bananas. Please stay safe over there, guys. Wash your hands. Don't touch your fucking face. And just stay safe. Oh my God, these numbers are. I always say that to people. I always have to include the F word in that. Anytime my brother will send me something, he'll text me and I'll just tell him, wash your hands and don't touch your fucking face. I can't help it. Listen, I swear a lot. That's why I am not kid friendly. I am not a family friendly streamer, and nor do I want to be. I have a friend who lives in Denmark who refuses to go out without a mask. He hasn't visited his mom. Yeah, like I'm not going anywhere. I really haven't left my house since March. Like I've gone over to my brother's a couple times and I stand very far away. We distance a lot and I always wear my mask. Always wear my mask. Yeah, I don't go and visit family. I have not taken a trip to see anybody. I will once we're all safe and everybody's good. I don't want to kill anybody, and I don't want anybody to kill me. So it's not like personal or anything. It's more we are in phase stage 2 where we can't be in big gatherings like 30. That's a lot, man. Like even if my government was like, yeah, dude, it's good to go. You guys can all like go to baseball games and shit. Like I'm not. I'm just not. I trust no one, man. I trust absolutely no one on this thing right now. I do trust Dr. Fauci. I think he gets it. So even if my government says it's okay, I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to TwitchCon. I'm not going to ExileCon. I'm not going to any of those. I just want everybody to stay safe because look, even if I don't know you personally, even if we've never smoked a joint together or just hung out, gone to a movie or gave each other hand jobs, whatever it is, I just want to say, I want you to be around next year. I want you to be around 10 years from now. I am glad you exist. And I want you to continue existing. Until we all die of natural causes, obviously. Let's see. What else did I miss? We're going to be wrapping it up here in a minute. I can't believe 2 hours went by like that. Holy cow, this thing goes so quick. I've seen one person with a face mask. That's scary. I walked by a guy in Walmart the other day, and so in Walmart they had a cop in front of it to enforce face masks. And so inside the store, there was a couple assholes that were trying to get away with it and like having it underneath their nose or like right here on their chin. And I was walking, and this guy had it underneath his nose, and he looked like he was like 25, 30. He had his wife and a small child. And I just stared at him, and I looked at him dead in the eyes, and then he was like, he like fiddled with his mask and he put it over his nose. I didn't have to say anything. I shamed him with my eyes. We need to shame people. We need to tell people that they need to do this. And it's not about freedom. It's about public health. They do not have the right to infect others. Harsh numbers. I haven't had it. So I must be one of the smart ones. Yeah, man. I mean, these numbers are pretty big, dude. I feel the same. I mean, the numbers here in the U.S., they look really, really bad, man. I mean, way worse than these. And I'm staying home. I'm wearing my mask. I'm staying safe as much as I can. That's all we can do. I know that I'm going to get it. I just don't know when. So I've done things. Listen, I'll wrap it up on a morbid thought. I actually took the passwords off my computer. I told my family where all my passwords for all of my digital stuff is located. I just did the things that so that way if I get COVID and I die 2 weeks later, they're not stuck. And I'll give you the reason why I did that is because my father, he had a password on his computer and he died from cancer and he never told anybody his password. I have it over in the corner of the office. I've had it for like the last 2 years, and I've been meaning to take out the hard drive and crack it open and basically try to copy the information out of it the best I can. I'm not emotionally ready for that. Even though he died like 8 years ago, I'm still not emotionally ready to open up that hard drive and see what's on it. But I wanted my family to know that they can take care of all of my stuff if in need. In the UK, there have been nearly 46,000 deaths. Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is outrageous. 45,759 deaths. And keep in mind, most of these are unnecessary deaths. These are deaths that are on the hands of Boris Johnson and even the Queen. Even the Queen, I would say these, because the Queen, I know she's never exercised her powers to do so, but she could have removed Boris and installed a different prime minister and saved the lives of many, many people over there. And it's sad. Check Canada. Let's look at Canada. Boom, Canada, 115,000. Still a lot, man. Still a lot. No, almost 9,000 deaths. I mean, I guess in your case it could have been way worse. So, but that's almost a 10% death rate. A 10% more mortality. Oof, man. How did that feel though to actually prep for your own death? Pretty surreal, to be honest. Yeah, this is scary. I'm 42 years old. I smoke a lot of marijuana. I'm probably about 15 pounds overweight. I do take blood pressure medicine. And these are all factors that I'm taking in. This is why I say like I think that I wouldn't make it. I mean, you should go in thinking you wouldn't make it, and if you do, that's wonderful. But yeah, it's pretty surreal, man. Like my daughter actually started crying when I told her. Like she got like super super sad, and I felt bad. It was not awesome to talk about. Almost 1,000 people so active. Yeah, yeah, man. Canada's holding it down. I don't know what their waves were. Let's look. This will be the last thing I do before we wrap up because I need to go play some balloons. Balloons. I didn't even get to play PoE last night. I fell asleep at like 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. It was ridiculous. And then I got woken up because my daughter stabbed herself in the hand with a pocket knife. She's actually getting stitches right now. I I closed up her wound and wrapped her up last night. Luckily, the military actually taught me how to do first aid on a grand scale. The only thing I couldn't do is like I couldn't suture her because I don't have a suture kit, nor do I think I want one. I don't think I want to get good at doing that. She was whittling some wood and the blade was towards her. I always told her to cut away from herself, and she cut towards herself, and it slipped, and it went into her knuckle. And so I got woken up out of nowhere having to do. I told her, I said, "You're lucky I didn't have to do a tourniquet." It's terrible. So she's down there getting stitches right now. I told her I was going to tell you guys. Anyway, you can see Canada went up right there at the beginning of May when they figured out, hey, we need to do something. And then the cases went down and they're on a slight rise, not too bad, but a slight rise right now. Hopefully that'll level out and continue going down. They are going to keep the U.S.-Canada border closed for a little bit longer. I'm glad. I don't want to kill Canadians either. So anyway, any last alibis? Anything you guys want to say before I wrap up the podcast? This will go on YouTube tomorrow. You guys will be live on YouTube. It's going to be good. Not live, but, recorded. What you get from FedEx? Just some clothes for my wife. She's been clothes shopping for the kids as they go back to school online. She's actually done a great job, but I've gotten to know my FedEx guy and my UPS guy very, very well. I actually have like full at length conversations with them some days on the lawn. So, Mom, get the camera. I'm on YouTube. I'm famous. Hey, the YouTube channel has actually been pretty good. I think the YouTube channel has actually been really, really good. Cool. Thought maybe it was business supplies. No, I actually thought they were too. Dude, I don't mind. You can be as nosy as you want. So I've been waiting for the mushroom cultivation bags. I'm going to start selling mushroom cultivation supplies. So I ordered 3,000 bags to start out with, and I'm just waiting for them to be delivered. So yeah, I'm a big supporter in that area of business. So we can listen. We can continue this conversation over on Bloons. I'm going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break, and let's see how much you pay for the 3,000 bags. Like 600. Let's see. For you guys, it would be probably like 500 euros for sample bags. And you know, mushroom cultivation is the future. I can't wait to talk about that too on a future one. 3,000 what bags? Oh, mushroom cultivation bags. These are poly bags that you can stick in an autoclave and you can sterilize grains or media and stuff like that. This is for like growing like the same mushrooms that you grow and you see at your grocery store, the white button tops, the portobellos, the lion's manes, all of those. It's huge. Right now in America, a lot of people are growing mushrooms at home for the health benefits. And I want in. I want in, and I can deliver them bags at a lower price than anybody else. Guaranteed I can do that. We'll talk about it on the next podcast at length. We're going to talk about mushrooms for sure. It's definitely one of my favorite things. For now, we're wrapping this up. I'm going to take about a 10-minute break. I will see you guys over on Twitch right here on where you guys are right now. I'm going to, like I said, about 10-minute break. We'll bring up Bloons, and we're going to have a lot of fun for the next like 3 hours. So we'll continue, save those questions, and we'll talk about it over on that side. I'll be happy to. For now, thank you guys for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to like, subscribe, give me one of those little thumbs up, leave me a comment, do whatever. I stream Monday through Friday on Twitch from 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 3 p.m., and I would love to have you over there too. So please feel free to join us, and I'll see you over there. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll see you soon.